Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopa kumaraya govindaya namo namaha. So we are reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 87, Prayers of the Personified Vedas, verse 36. Satyedam uthitam saditi chenananutarkahatam vyabhicharati kva chakvacha mrishana tatho bhaya yuk vyavahirtaye vikalpa ishito nanda paramparaya Brahmyati bharati ta uru vrittibhir ukta jadan. Word by word translation. Sataha, from that which is permanent. Idam, this, universe. Utthetam, arisen. Sat, permanent. Iti, thus. Chet, if someone proposes. Nano, certainly. Tarka, by logical contradiction. Atam, refuted. Vyabhicharati, it is inconsistent. Vacha, in some cases. Vacha, in other cases. Mrisha, illusion. Na, not. Tatha, so. Ubhaya, of both the real and illusion. Yuk, the conjunction. Vyavahrittaye, for the sake of ordinary affairs. Vikalpaha, an imaginary situation. Eshitaha, desired. Andhaha, of blind men. Param, paraya, by a succession. Brahmayati, bewilder. Bharati, the words of wisdom. Te, your. Uru, numerous. Vrittibhi, with their semantic functions. Oktah, by ritual utterances. Jadan, dulled. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It may be proposed that this world is permanently real because it is generated from the permanent reality. But such an argument is subject to logical refutation. Sometimes, indeed, the apparent non-difference of a cause and its effect fails to prove true. And at other times, the product of something real is illusory. Furthermore, this world cannot be permanently real, for it partakes of the nature of not only the absolute reality, but also the illusion disguising that reality. Actually, the visible forms of this world are just an imaginary arrangement resorted to by a succession of ignorant persons in order to facilitate their material affairs. With their various meanings and implications, the learned words of your Vedas bewilder all persons whose minds have been dulled by hearing the incantations of the sacrificial rituals. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Upanishads teach that this created world is real but temporary. This is the understanding that the devotees of Lord Vishnu adhere to. But there are also materialistic philosophers, like the proponents of Jaimini Rishi's Karma Mimamsa, who claim that this world is the only reality and exists eternally. For Jaimini, the cycle of karmic action and reaction is perpetual, with no possibility of liberation into a different transcendental realm. This viewpoint, however, is shown to be fallacious by a careful examination of the Upanishadic mantras, which contain many descriptions of a higher spiritual existence. For example, Sad eva somyedam agra asid ekam eva dvitiyam. My dear boy, the absolute truth alone prior existed to this creation, one without a second. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. Also, Vijnanam, Anandam, Brahma. The supreme reality is divine knowledge and bliss. It's from Brihad Aranyak Upanishad. In this prayer of the personified Vedas, the materialist argument is summed up in the words Sata idam uthitam. Sat. The visible world is permanently real because it is generated from the permanent reality. In general, this argument goes that which is produced from a certain thing is composed of that thing. For example, earrings and other ornaments made from gold share gold substance. Thus, the Mimamsa logicians conclude since the world as we know is a manifestation of an eternal reality, it is also eternally real. But the Sanskrit ablative expression sataha from the eternal reality implies a definite separation of cause and effect. Therefore, what is created from Sat, the permanent reality, must be significantly different from it. In other words, temporary. In this way, the argument of the materialist is flawed because it proves just the opposite of what it is intended to prove. Tarka hatam. Namely, the word as we know it is all that exists, that it is eternal, and that there is no separate transcendental reality. In defense, the Mimamsakas may claim that they are not trying to prove non-difference per se, but rather trying to disapprove the possibility of difference, or in other words, the possibility of any reality separate from the known world. This attempt to support the Mimamsa argument is easily refuted by the phrase Vyabhicharati Kvacha, that is to say, they are counter examples that deviate from the general rule. Sometimes, indeed, the source is very different from what it produces, as in the case of a man and his young son, or a hammer and the destruction of a clay pot. But the Mimamsakas reply the creation of the universe is not that same kind of causation as your counter examples. The father and the hammer are only efficient causes, whereas the Sat is also this universe's ingredient cause. This reply is anticipated by the words Swacha Mrisha, and sometimes the effect is illusory. In the case of the false perception of a snake, where there is a rope on the ground, the rope is snake's illusion's ingredient cause, differing in many respects from the imagined snake, most obviously in its being real. The Mimamsakas once more rejoin, but the ingredient cause of the illusory snake is not just the rope by itself. It is the rope plus the observer's ignorance, avidya. Since avidya is not a substance, the snake it produces is called an illusion. Yet the same is true, the personified Vedas reply. In the case of the universe's creation from Sat, in conjunction with ignorance, Tatho Bhaya Yuk. Here, the unreal element of illusion, Maya, is the living being's misconception that their own bodies and other changing material forms are permanent. But rejoin the Mimamsakas. Our experience of this world is valid because the things we experience are useful for practical activity. If our experience were not valid, we could never be sure that our perceptions corresponded to the facts. We would be like a man who, despite exhaustive examination, would still have to suspect that a rope might be a snake. No. The Shrutis here answer the temporary configurations of matter are nonetheless an illusory imitation of the eternal spiritual reality, cleverly concocted to fulfill the conditioned living entity's desire for material activity. Vyavahritaya vikalpa ishitaha. The illusion of this world's permanence is sustained by a succession of blind men who learn the materialistic idea from their predecessors and pass on this illusion to their descendants. Anyone can see that the illusion often continues by the momentum of lingering mental impressions. And even when its basis is no longer present, thus, throughout history, blind philosophers have misled other blind men by convincing them of the absurd idea that they can reach perfection by engaging in mundane rituals. Foolish people may be willing to exchange counterfeit coins among one another, but a wise man knows that such money is useless for the practical business of buying food, medicine, and other necessities. And if given in charity, counterfeit money will know with no pious credit. But say the Mimamsakas, how can the sincere performer of Vedic rituals be a deluded fool? Since the Samhitas and the Brahmanas of the Vedic scriptures establish that the fruits of karma are eternal. For example, Akshayam Haivai Chaturmasya Yajinaha Sukratam Bhavati. For those who observe the Chaturmasya vows, there arises inexhaustible good karma. And Apama Somam Amrita Babhuma. We have drunk the Som and become immortal from the Rigved. The Shrutis reply by pointing out the personality of Godhead's learned words comprising the Vedas, bewilder those whose weak intelligence has been crushed by the weight of too much faith in karma. The specific word used here is Uru Vrittibihi, which indicates that the Vedic mantras, with their confusing variety of meanings in the semantic modes of Gauna, Lakshana, and so on, protect their sublime mysteries from all those who have faith in Lord Vishnu. The Vedas do not truly mean to say in their injunctions that the fruits of karma are eternal, but only indirectly describe in metaphors the praiseworthiness of regulated sacrifices. Chandogya Upanishad states in no uncertain terms that the results of ritual karma are impermanent. Tad yatheha karmo chito loka shiyate evam mutra punya chito loka shiyate. Just as whatever benefit one works hard to attain in this world is eventually depleted, so whatever life one earns for oneself in the next world by his piety will also eventually end. According to the testimony of numerous Shruti mantras, the entire material universe is but a temporary emanation of the supreme truth. Mundik Umiteshad for one says, and I'm just reading the translation, as the web is expanded and withdrawn by a spider, as plant grows from earth, and as hair grows from a living person's head and body, so this universe is generated from the inexhaustible Supreme. And then Sridhar Swami's prayer, although this world has arisen from you, who are the very substance of reality, it is not eternally real. The illusory snake appearing from a rope is not permanent reality, nor are the transformations produced from gold. The Vedas never say that they are. The actual, transcendental, non-dual reality is your supremely blissful personal kingdom. To that beautiful abode, I offer my obeisances, O Lord Hari, to whom goddess Indira always bows down. I also bow to you. Therefore, please never release me. Let us chant some prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Pinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. So, my dear friends, any reflections on everything which we just read?
Hare Krishna. Can
Hare
you hear me?
Krishna, dear Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
I'm glad you got this verse. Very complicated. Basically, the personified Vedas are giving us an idea of what we're dealing with, and then what's important and what should we do.
Thank you.
With
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna is providing a very complex and intricate description here. What's real? What isn't? What's important? And what should we do? How wonderful is Krishna? So basically, you know, we see all these things around us and we think, what is this? Is this doesn't even really exist in it? I'm just like dreaming this. What's real is devotional service. The illusion is that this is for my pleasure and then I can make a happy, happy here, cozy, warm fuzzies, and then I'll be like, satisfied. But that's not reality. Reality is serving Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what's unreal is not eternal. And he
Mm.
says, you never was there a time when you exist and you did not exist, nor all these kings, nor in the future will you ever cease to be. So the soul is real, Krishna is real, and the love of Krishna for us, and our love for Krishna is real and eternal. The other
Jai.
stuff, happiness and distress, what can you say?
Yes,
Just
Prabhu.
serve Krishna, and everything is very, very simple. It's a simple life, Prabhupada said. Anyway, I'm just
Yes.
talking too long, actually. All glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu. You actually gave us a very good point. So, Srila Prabhupada says bhakti or spiritual life can be simple for the simple people and complicated for the complicated people. And this shloka, when I was reading this shloka, it says so many things actually. And few things came in my mind. One was broad overview that where are we actually? And what's going on here? Who is speaking? What are these points going on? Then looking at the purport itself, which basically conveys so many realities actually. What's the main idea? What's going on? And it's such a long passage. And then from that, I got some more questions about what is reality, and what are the different ways of pursuing reality as per the Vedic school of thought. And then because we are in the midst of prayers, I also thought that it would be really nice to see that what is the art of making prayers. And especially in this purport, we read about Chaturmasya. Chaturmasya is mentioned, the 4 holy months, which have begun. It's week 1 in these 4 months. So that's what I thought that I would cover. Although I don't have much time, it's 7:36, and I'll try to finish between 7:45 and 7:50. But let us see. So, um, where are we now in this? So basically, there is a conversation happening uh, where it's a story inside a story inside a story. Shukadev Goswami is basically being asked by Parikshit Maharaj that how, Lord, which is para, which is beyond material senses, he's apara. How can we access him? And then he says that, similar thing was asked uh, to uh, Narad Muni. And Narad Muni basically asked this to Narayan Rishi. And then Narayan Rishi basically says that once upon a time, in a Jannaloka, the sons of Brahma, those who came from the mind of Brahma, they were all there and they started talking about this. And they chose one of the Chatushkumar to discuss this. And then they started talking about uh, uh, why, uh, like, the Lord who is apara can be actually accessed. So that is where we are. They go into the points of like how God is beyond words and the mind. The soul is divine and eternal. This life is like a dream. It is real, but it is temporary. Even the greatest people can't fully understand God if they are not surrendered. It is only with bhakti that we can understand, truly understand Krishna, with serving him with love, with surrender, with humility, not just by reading or debating. And how the Lord is very kind and is available to all. So that's sum and substance of the whole prayers of the personified Vedas. And again, it helps us to again center us that, we are spirit souls. And real happiness comes from devotion to God or devotion to Krishna and not material stuff. And it's not about trying to figure out God, but it's about loving and serving Him. So um, trying to understand Lord by logic is like think like a firefly trying to light up the sun. Uh, but like there is no comparison actually. So that is where we are actually in this chapter. Um, and if we see briefly the idea which is being presented in this particular shloka, so the main idea is what is the nature of reality, and the most important thing from this shloka, which we all need to take home, is that the world is real. This world is not unreal. The world is real, but it is temporary. That is a Vedantic view. That is the view of the devotees of the Lord. Higher spirituality exists beyond this material world, and it is confirmed by all the Upanishads, the Shrutis, the Vedas, and the Puranas. Now there are other people, the materialists, and one of the people who are mentioned here, one of the schools of thought is mentioned is Karma Mimamsa. Their philosophy is that this world is real and it is all, and karma is perpetual. So you do bad karma, you get bad stuff. You do good karma, you get good stuff in this life and in the next and in the next, like that. They deny that there is any spiritual world. So they say that because the world is coming from um, eternal reality, the word needs, and from permanent reality, it needs to be permanent and real too. And then in the whole shloka, like the purport, we basically read the fallacies more explained from the shloka itself. The first one, the word is used tarka hatam in the shloka itself by the Vedas, which basically means that, the killer of logic. Hatam means to kill or to refute, and tarka is logic. So the first thing which they use is the grammar basically. The first word is sataha and then sat. So there are two separate words used in a grammatical way to basically say that they are not the same. And then many examples are given. The first example is given between cause and effect about father versus son. It's not that father basically or mother basically create a son and the son is basically exactly like their parents. Or like, hammer can break something. It doesn't mean that whatever hammer is breaking is basically becoming hammer. And that karma mimamsa people say that, these are not good examples. It's not efficient, proper. So then another example is given that, that in this world, yes, there is reality, but there is also avidya, there is maya. So the example is given of a rope, that how, if it's in the dark or something, we go and see a rope, it can appear to be like a snake. And it's not snake, it's illusion. The rope is real. There is something that is real, but we are perceiving it as a snake. And that addition is through avidya, that is ignorance. So Maya basically comes into picture and we can't see reality. So then they say these materialists, they basically say that world is real because, it is useful in daily life. Vyavahar, that word is used here. So then in the purport, we see that even, counterfeit money can be useful for people who are fools or people who don't have enough intelligence that what is counterfeit and not counterfeit. But is it really true? It is not true. So although it is being useful at that particular moment because people are still exchanging counterfeit stuff, not only money, like even like luxury bags or whatever. But you can't say that imitation can be clever imitation, but it is actually real. So this is the whole thing which is basically going on about what is real, what is not real. We talk about a lot of things, and the conclusion of this whole thing is basically given in the prayer of Sridhar Swami, which is at the end. Then even though this world emerges from Sat, it is not eternally real, like a snake seen on a rope or ornaments from fake gold. True reality is blissful, True reality is the spiritual world of Lord Hari. And then Sridhar Swami is saying that never release me from this prayer of mine. So, so that is basically what this shloka is about. Then I was thinking about reality and about the schools of thought. So there are six schools of thought, and they are known as Shad Darshan. Shad means six. Darshan means, again, when the altar will open at 8 o'clock, those of you who are here with us online and in the temple will be able to see the Lord. That is darshan. It is in one sense to basically see. You know. So Shadadarshan, six ways of seeing. Seeing what? Seeing reality. So there are six. I'll very quickly list them. First one is Nyaya. Nyaya means logic. In very simple words, it's also epistemology, and it's about that we try to see the reality through reasoning, and whatever proof we get, whatever valid knowledge we get, we basically try to dissect it, and logically we try to see everything. The second one is Vaisheshika, which is um, it is basically seeing the world through the eyes of, like, everything can be divided into atoms, so it can be read as like atomism, or categorization of reality through atoms. So, or in very simple words, if we say that Vaisheshika is to analyze the world through categories and substances, that what are the various substances which basically make the world. Then there is Sankhya, that is a third darshan, which is enumeration. Enumeration basically is counting based metaphysics. So basically asking the deep questions of life through counting, basically discriminating what is Purusha, that is the spirit, and what is matter, that is Prakriti. So these are the three schools of thought. The fourth one is yoga, that realization through discipline. Um, like one attains liberation through mental control and meditation. Then there is this Purva Mimamsa, which we just read, or Karma Mimamsa, that rituals uh, uh, is basically the end goal of the Vedas, and that is how we understand dharma and we understand everything. And then ultimately, the sixth darshan is Vedanta, and which is through the end of the Vedas. It basically to realize the absolute truth through jnana, through knowledge, and through bhakti. So these are the six schools of thoughts. The various teachers who actually were disciples of Vyasadeva were basically given, like, they were like the professors of these schools. So for Nyaya, it was Gautam Rishi. For Vaisheshika, it was Kannada. For Sankhya, it was Kapila. Not the Kapila which we read. This Sankhya, and there are two Sankhyas actually. They are intermixed. One is the devotional and the real Sankhya, and another one is mixed with uh, fallacies and not correct information. Then the fourth one is Patanjali for yoga. The fifth one, this Karma Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa with Jaimini. And then Vedanta, Vedvyas himself basically was seeing this. So I already discussed that what is the reality according to each of these. Um, so I'll not go into that. But why are we always curious about it? Because reality basically helps us to define that what is our purpose. Uh, Once we know our purpose, then we can understand our right action. Once we have right action, then that action will take us to liberation, that is moksha. And so basically, our purpose is like Purusharth. Our right action is like dharma. Our path to liberation is basically moksha. And then if we do all these three correctly, then we basically read Ishvara, that is Krishna. So uh, that is basically what these people are trying to do. Now, why do philosophers basically come up with various philosophies? I was also having this question. Like, there are so many Western philosophers also, apart from whatever we just read. So there are few things. One is, definitely we all are very curious. There is intellectual curiosity. We all want to know, who am I? What is this world? Why am I suffering? But there is also another thing, that there is a controlling mentality that we want to control our outcomes. So these philosophies or the philosophers, they want to play God, basically, especially the ones which are atheist. So that is another one. And also, it gives us a way, those people who don't want to surrender to God, it gives them a way of avoiding surrender. So to avoid surrender. So reasons why we philosophize is one is that, we have intellectual curiosity. We don't want to surrender. We want to control the outcomes. And definitely there is name, fame, and all those things, which, like, if you become famous and all. And also to remove contradictions, because people who don't get information, knowledge from credible sources like a bona fide spiritual master or someone coming in the parampara, then they just don't understand why, uh, contrasting, contradicting things they exist, So these philosophies are also used basically to remove contradictions. So that's basically pretty much it about the six versions. And we are in the middle of prayers. And the last 2 minutes I'll just take about, like, how do we make prayers, especially in this month of Chaturmas? So um or actually no, why not why do we make, but why do prayers are so complex? That was the question I had. This is the prayer, right? You will be like, I don't think, how many of you actually, when you come in front of the Lord, you have such deep prayer like what we just read? Anyone here? Okay. I would say that your silence basically is that we don't pray like this. But so my question is, why all these prayers, whatever we read in Bhagavatam, are so deep in philosophy? So the idea here is that um, the goal of bhakti, devotion, it's not just sentiments and emotion, but it is realization. And that's a very deep point. Srila Prabhupada would often say that devotion must be guided with philosophy. Only emotional expression without knowledge of the Lord's nature can basically lead us to be sentimentalists or speculators. So it's a beauty of Bhakti Yoga, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, that it harmonizes knowledge with love. So bhakti without philosophy is sentimentalism or sentiment, and philosophy without bhakti is dry speculation. That's what Prabhupada would say. So the first point why the prayers are so deep is because the goal of devotion is not just emotion. The second one is uh, because the Lord is absolute, his name, fame, form, pastimes, everything is absolute. So philosophy about him is also worship. So it is a way to worship the Lord through our words. To basically discuss the glories of the Lord, the energies of the Lord, the nature of everything is basically to meditate on those forms. It's to worship the Lord. It also shows that these devotees have deep realization. You know, it just shows that uh, they are expressing both the things. One is their personal dependence on the Lord, and at the same time, cosmic understanding. That who is this Lord, and that's why these prayers are filled with two things. That is rasa or taste, and the second is truth. That is tattva, and that is what Bhagavatam is about. You know, it is a shastra of both siddhanta and rasa. And these prayers are also meant for us to learn because these are self realized soul. They already know everything. It is for us to really understand who the Lord is. Srila Prabhupada presented Bhagavatam not just to give us books and books after books, but to educate us in our sambandha, our relationship with Krishna, to educate us in the process that is abhidheya, and then to make us understand what is the goal. So it is from a relationship to process to the goal. So that is why, these prayers are also meant to teach us that heart of a devotee is filled with love, which also carries the truth of tattva. So that is why. Now, how do we pray? So generally, I have heard from my teachers that and my guru that when we go first, we should go in front of the Lord, or whenever we are sitting, wherever sitting, we think of the Lord. We should begin with humility, acknowledge, our helplessness, our fallen state, our unworthiness. So begin with humility, or like just bowing down in front of the Lord. Just like when we read about Prahlad, he bows down in front of Lord Nrsimhadev. The second thing we do is we glorify the Lord. We glorify the Lord's qualities and nature. So we can glorify him but just by chanting his names, actually. The names are just not just names. Each and every name actually specifically glorifies the Lord of some specific quality, which he possesses in unlimited, infinite amount. So we speak of his names, his forms, his pastimes, his energies, his compassion. Now, when we glorify the Lord, this attracts Lord's heart. And that's how devotees we glorify. Then once we glorify, then we express our surrender and our dependence. So we are vulnerable, we are honest, and we basically say what our prayer is. And then we come, in the end, we basically pray that, oh Lord, please give us devotion. The best prayers are to ask for pure devotion. The motive of a pure prayer is purification. And yes, definitely the prayers has to be whatever glories and whatever we have sung. It has to be in line with Guru Sadhu Shastra, Siddhanta, and that is how we basically say. So with this, I conclude my uh, talk. And just last thing, I'll say that all of you assembled online and in the temple hall, please bless me so that these next 4 months, I can be in a prayerful mood, and I can, whenever I see the Lord, I can offer prayers to the Lord. So with this, I end my monologue. Thank you so much for tolerating me. Any questions here? I also had two stories and also various pastimes to show and connect a lot of things. But as you know that uh, we are limited here with time.
We like stories.
Yeah,
Okay.
if there's no question, maybe you can share until darshan time.
Sure.
Min raised her hand.
So, but there is a hand up actually of Min. Is this
Yeah, thank you so much for this class. It was just really amazing, and you clarified a lot of things for me. And it was really cool because it's something that I've been hearing and thinking about all week. One of my teachers had written an article. It's a long article, essay, but to paraphrase it, he sort of questions this notion of reading Shastra with with surrender and really paying attention to the words themselves, and to surrender to them, to realize something, a deeper meaning in them. And he even questions, is this sounds sort of anti-intellectual, but in bhakti it is so needed to have that mood when we try to understand the Shastra. So that's it's and that you said the very same thing in different ways. So it's just really interesting because I've come to know our lineage as filled with scholars and scholarship and so much knowledge and such a detailed knowledge. So at times I think that, am I getting lost in this knowledge? Like what am I really, what is the end goal of this knowledge? So it's if you could actually speak to, for a neophyte who sits down to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, what how should we approach it in line with what you just spoken?
how should we approach the knowledge?
The Shastra itself, the Srimad Bhagavatam.
So basically, each and every word here, what we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all the other books by Prabhupada, they are non-different from Lord Krishna. So when we associate with these words, first what happens is that we are purified. So purification has to happen, purification of the heart. Then only, our heart, it's like churning basically. Like Krishna likes butter. And one of my teacher basically says that reading Shastra, doing austerities, following the whole process is basically to churn our heart, to remove what is unwanted. So that after the churning, only what remains is the butter. So that Krishna can come and steal that butter. So we have to, it's our way of becoming purer and purer so that we can approach God. So that is one thing here. The other thing here is that these words are not ordinary words. Bhagavatam, every word of the shloka and even the purport, they are very much infused with bhakti. They give us love. And not just love which is sentimental or just fleeting, love which is very grounded, very rooted. Siddhanta basically helps us to find that groundedness, that, okay, I am a believer of this. Why am I a believer of this? And another thing, we want, our whole process is to love Krishna. How can we develop love for someone if we don't know them? The more we know about them, the more we see good in them, the more we have appreciation, and then ultimately affection, and then ultimately love. So that is how we approach the scripture.
Mm.
And the story I wanted to share is story of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Mahatamya, which comes in Padma Puran, which basically says that how Bhakti, with her two sons, they became very old and diseased in the age of Kali Yuga. And somehow, once they reach a certain place, Bhakti again becomes like a youthful lady, like in her very early 20s. But her sons were again like very old. And Narad Muni basically comes there. And Narad Muni sees that, they are old and this girl is very young. And he could see that this lady is Bhakti herself. And then she says, what happened to you? And she says, in Kali Yuga, nobody has devotion for the Lord. And I don't know why coming in this place, I just feel it's so youthful. And ultimately, Narad Muni says, you are in Vrindavan. It's a land of bhakti for Krishna. That's why you are youthful. But she says, but my sons. And the name of the sons is Gyan, which is knowledge, and Vairagya, which is renunciation. So knowledge and renunciation. So they are the sons. They are the children of bhakti. But they are very old still in Vrindavan. Why? And Narad Muni couldn't understand. And then there is a whole story of how he goes and meets so many personalities. He recites Bhagavad Gita there. He recites many other things there. And ultimately, after doing and going here and there, he ultimately meets the four Kumaras, Chatush Kumar, and then they say that you should recite Bhagavatam. And after they recite Bhagavatam, the sons basically become young again. And that is what I was trying to say here, that it is so beautiful that when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not just about, just developing a loving relationship with Krishna, but it is also about harmonizing knowledge with that devotional service.
Mm.
It's harmonizing Gyan and Prema. And that's why I said that what Prabhupada says, bhakti without philosophy is sentiment, and philosophy without bhakti is dry speculation. I hope that answered your question. And
Yeah,
it's
thank
8
you
o'clock.
much.
Although we have Bhima Prabhu here also, who has raised his hand. So till the time the altar is opening, we can hear from Bhima Prabhu.
Are you going to be here, Prabhu, for the afterglow?
Do you want me here?
That's an affirmative. That's
I'll be there.
affirmative, yes.
So
I want to ask you a question. Yes, let's see the deities first.
yeah.
And let's be seen too by the deities being overboard.
Yeah, it's both actually. Darshan is not just, we go and see the Lord, but Lord is also
But
seeing us.
but will Krishna see Bhima when he's keeping his
No,
camera
I
off?
just got out of the shower. Leave me alone.
Krishna is definitely seeing him.
Great class, Karuna Nimai Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, with bhakti, everything else starts making sense. It's amazing. Bible, any other scripture you go back to, you'll see, if you look at it from the point of view of bhakti, all of a sudden it's clear. Thank you.
So I think in the meantime, till the altar is opening, maybe if you have questions, you can ask questions. Bhima Prabhu, you can also ask a question. And then whenever the altar opens, then we can halt for that brief time.
Temple room, please turn on the camera. We don't see the altar.
So Bhagavatam is filled with very beautiful prayers. We are just reading of the
Quick question,
Vedas.
Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Quick question.
Darshan time, darshan time.
Who
Bhima
was
Prabhu.
it that was worshiping Krishna with all the paraphernalia on the hill after he had pridefully? Who was that? Was it Indra or Brahma?
I'll tell you after the
Okay,
session.
Haribo.
Jai Shri Shirana Murlidhar. Temple room, please unmute if you can.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Adipurusha Prabhu. Let me see if the temple room is reciting the prayers for Prabhupada.
Okay.
I don't think they can hear us though, so let's just move on. Welcome to the Afterglow. Adipurusha Prabhu has hold it. Jai Shila Prabhupada. Thank you, Maya Devi, for
Bhima has
facilitating the
raised his hand.
darshan. What's that?
Prabhupada ki.
Jai Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Temple Room. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Afterglow. Karuna Nimai Prabhu, back to you. So who was that person who was praying on the hill? The question from Bhima. Maybe that was Bhima?
Huh. Is he still there?
She is. Karuna
Yes,
Nimai
Prabhu,
Prabhu. Yeah.
I'm here.
Who was it on the hill
I think
praying to?
it was praying to Krishna. It's I don't remember that it was the hill, but at the footstep of the hill, there was Lord Indra who basically comes to Krishna with Surabhi cow because he just feels too scared of what might happen. So he comes with a devotee of the Lord, and then there is a bathing ceremony which takes place, and then Krishna gets an
Elaborate. Okay. And did Brahma also have a rather elaborate
yes,
prayer?
very
Okay.
elaborate.
Very elaborate. Okay. So it was
Yeah.
Brahma. I don't know why when you're talking about the difference and of course the need to have a synergy between bhakti and gyan, meaning knowing why you're following this path, which actually is quite natural. It's supernatural, of course, but it's quite natural as and I don't know why, but that pastime, that particular one, always gives me a smile, and that is when Brahma was doing this super elaborate with and I guess some the demigods as well were
Yes,
worshiping, right, Prabhu? Yes.
yes, yes.
So it was super elaborate. It sort of reminds me of all the philosophies, the grandiose knowledge, as Min was saying, just so much knowledge, Vedas. You can get lost, as they say, in the flowery language. So the puja, the worship, and all the unbelievable, valuable accoutrement of the worshiping, and then gives me a smile is the cowherd boys watching it from the forest and laughing. And after it was done, I guess the demigods had left some of the paraphernalia behind, the golden candle holders, wick holders, and the chamras bedecked with rubies and diamonds and stuff like that. And they ran out to Krishna. Could you tell us the rest of the story and the mood in which they were in? Because I almost feel like right there you have the dichotomy of the elaborate philosophical um, offering to Krishna, and Krishna being, quite frankly, unimpressed, right? So could you elaborate on, he was unimpressed, and yet him and the cowherd boys ran out, grabbed the paraphernalia, and mocked the whole ceremony, mocked it, and were laughing and parading into town with all the unbelievable treasure that the demigods had left behind, but they were sort of like joking and play acting what the demigods were doing. So, could you parse that out a little bit? Does that not show that Krishna is rather aloof from all our mental speculation and simply wants us to have a sense of humor about our whole situation and the pride that keeps us from seeing him everywhere?
Krishna is definitely it's see I just want to clarify that for gyan or knowledge, what I'm saying, it's to harmonize. It's not to synergize. There are two different things here. And definitely, like if you see Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatan Goswami, he clearly, we see that, in the whole journey, ultimately the highest devotees of the Lord were the gopis. And we also read in the Bhagavatam and at other texts that how when Uddhav comes, who is so knowledgeable about Krishna, who actually has Sarupya Siddhi, he looks like Krishna. So when he enters Vrindavan, gopis think he's Krishna. And they come to him, but when he starts to speak, they understand, oh, he's not Krishna. And then they just go and do their own thing. So Uddhava was not able to understand that why these ladies who have no knowledge, nothing, they are the highest devotees of the Lord. And this comes to the point that for Krishna, what really matters is what is our connection with him. Whether now this is with humor, with this is with love, whatever relationship, whatever the rasa one develops when one is liberated with the Lord is what basically matters. Now, in our state of being so contaminated by everything, like uh, whether our desires are there of gain or our desires are there of not doing the right thing or or just to like selfishly enjoy and not just be connected and not to surrender to the Lord, not give our ego to the Lord. Even just with that, we are just so contaminated. In order for us to be purified and to see where we actually belong is by reading Shastra. So we become humble. We understand the greatness of the Lord. And we don't become sentimentalists that, oh, I am having such a great time, and we go and we just have conversations with the Lord. But even the heart will not be purified, and then we'll be engrossed in so many materialistic activities. And sometimes, in some temples in India, I've seen some people come and they just behave as if, they have Mahabhav, they are like gopis, and they give kisses to the Lord, like flying kisses. They dance there, they do everything. And then when they go back, they do all sorts of immoral acts also. So are they devotees? Yes, in some light they are devotees. But are they progressing towards Krishna? No, because they are not purified yet. So for us in our stage, it is important that we harmonize Gyan. We read whatever we understand. We don't have to be very complicated. But understand the Lord is a proprietor of everything. Understand that how this whole world is working, all the energies are serving Krishna. We understand the three modes of material nature basically act under the supervision of the Lord. The seasons are changing, everything is happening methodically, very properly. Everything is so much in harmony in the nature. So when we see that, then we develop that humility. So at least some ego basically goes, I'm not the proprietor, I'm not the enjoyer, I'm not the Lord of Lords. I'm just a mere person who basically has these desires. And over the course of time, when heart gets purified and we become siddhas, we become pure devotees of the Lord, then yeah, it doesn't matter really actually that how educated or non-educated we are in Gyan. And yes, the real rasa is what you actually mentioned very clearly, that Krishna actually smiled and played and was very happy to see his friends do all sorts of crazy things with the worship paraphernalia. He was hardly even giving a look actually to Brahma. Actually, Brahma Kund in Vrindavan, it's made because Brahma wept tears of like, what have I done? That's how the Brahma Kund basically comes. And with Indra and Survi also, like Krishna is hardly like bothered like what they are doing. But he was very moved when his pure devotees came. So the thing is, we have to be those pure devotees in order to have that connection with the Lord. We still have a connection with the Lord, but it is not fully rekindled. That's what I would say here, Prabhu. I hope this makes sense, Prabhu. You know more than me, but this is what my little brain basically says after what I heard from my teachers.
I thought the idea, instead of synergy, which is sort of like an intermeshing rather than a harmony, which is an accordance, a resonance, that what we know should match how we feel. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, we admire those things, but we do not necessarily imitate them publicly. Yeah, no flying kisses in the temple room. Might take away. Thank you, Karuna Nimai Prabhu. Min has her hand up. Can I send a flying kiss to Das and Meru, Krishna Mobile? Is that appropriate? Thank you. Min, go ahead.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I really love the difference you made between synergy and harmony in reading and in the knowledge that exists in our path. That because I get the sense that synergizing something, there's a bit of mentality of achieving something, whereas harmonizing just feels like we're living with and trying to sort of incorporate all the things that we're receiving from God into our lives. I read something, a devotee sent me an article. It was like an informal talk that Sridhar Maharaj gave, like I think in the early 1980s. And the topic of the speech was about what is Maya, and this relates a lot to what Bhima was speaking yesterday. And he speaks about how even finding meaning in everything in life is so important, and that when we see that everything is moving according to Krishna, that even a blade of grass that moves here and there, this side and that side, do we know the meaning in that? We don't, but Krishna does, and that losing interest in the local So I think he's meaning in the self-interest and moving towards the universal is so important in understanding Maya, where we are. And he cited a lot of verses in that talk that really helped me understand where he was coming from. And at the end, he was really speaking to giving your heart to Krishna, surrendering to Krishna, the one who knows everything and from whom everything comes from. When we surrender to him, we could understand where we are. And so in many ways, he's, speaking to Sambandha Gyan also, but it was really cool in a way that it helped me understand, maybe for the first time, the verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. And I didn't know how to I've asked so many questions about that verse and I couldn't really understand. But for the first time, I kind of understood in a way, losing my own interest, the local interest, and moving towards a universal interest of Krishna and surrendering onto that. Yeah, this talk is just so important to me for me to hear. Thank you so much. Just giving me like more understanding about the importance of our knowledge.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Krishna Mobile, Adipusha Prabhu and crew. Would you like to speak?
Praying to Prabhupada what to say. When Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in 1974, he was giving Bhagavatam class in the morning. And he started with these really long lectures. And he was looking around the temple room. I was his bodyguard, so I had to stand next to him. So I was looking back at the devotees with him. And I was just looking, we have a lot of construction workers and farmers and, kind of, cowherd girls, gardening people. And they were listening, but it didn't look like there was sparkling going on. And then the next day he gave a class, instead of 40 minutes, it was 25 minutes and then 15 minutes. And then he said, I can see that these Brijavasi devotees, all they want to know is where is Krishna and where is the cows? So they go back and forth from dressing the deities to milking the cows, and for Krishna's pleasure. And all this philosophy I have to share with them. They don't seem like very interested in the elaborate details. And he gave the analogy like, suppose you have cheesecake. You may want to know the recipe and the ingredients and the molecular structure of sugar or whatever. But who's going to argue with a piece of cheesecake? Just eat it, and taste Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada said. Sometimes, like was mentioned before, sometimes we get lost in the philosophy, and we forget the love and the laughter and the simplicity of spiritual life. But this elaborate philosophy is also very interesting for people who are more intelligent than me, and we appreciate that. That tells us how great is Krishna. Anyway, I'm talking too long. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Adipurush Prabhu. I'll just end by
Wait a
just
minute,
saying
Angel's
that,
talking.
yeah, I'll just end by saying that another key thing which I think that we should take home today is how do we pray to the Lord? And we can definitely learn by reading various prayers mentioned in the Bhagavatam, whether it is Queen Kunti's prayers or it is the prayers by Prahlad Maharaj or Gajendra or Dhruv Maharaj, or the Nagapatnis. We can just read prayers to understand how to actually pray. And or in essence, we can just say that the art of prayer is when we combine our humility, we glorify the Lord, and we surrender to the Lord. We express our surrender, our dependence on the Lord. Then we say our devotional desire, and then we again end with some scriptural truth or some scriptural prayer. We can take a prayer from one of these great personalities and add it here, as part of our prayer. And so it's a perfect combination of our connection with the Lord, our bhakti, our devotion, at the same time with this harmonizing with Gyan, that understanding that how the Lord is the Lord of everything. That's it.
Thank you, Karuna Nimai. Great class.
You guys
Very
are
nice
awesome.
and balanced and shastric and awesome, like Mira says.
So let's pray and eat cheesecake.
Yeah.
My obeisances to all of you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hemangi and her camera shy family. Hemangi, would you like to recite the prayer today? There she is.
Thank you so much for the beautiful class, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Bol.
Very sweet. Thank you, Hemangi. Thank you, Karuna Nimai Prabhu. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis and Vaishnavettes. We love you. Have a wonderful day. Come again tomorrow.